Today is July 6, 2017, and we're at the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans at 3000 Monroe Northeast, Grand Rapids, Michigan, 49505. We're going to be doing a Veterans History interview under the auspices of the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. We're going to be interviewing Tony P. Spallone, whose date of birth is March 17, 1947. And Tony is a member of the Grand Rapids Home for Veterans, and he served in the Vietnam War with the U.S. Army. And my name as interviewer and videographer is Wallace Erickson, and I'm a volunteer interviewer with Grand Valley State University, the History Department at Grand Valley State University, Allendale, Michigan. Tony, what is your full name and how do you spell your last name?
Anthony P. Spallone. They call me Tony, though. And my birthday is 3/17/47, St. Patrick's Day. Everybody celebrates my birthday, matter of fact.
How do you spell your last name, Tony?
S-P-A-L-L-O-N-E.
Okay, thank you. Which war did you serve in with the United States?
Vietnam.
Okay.
But they didn't call it a war, they called it a police action.
Right.
But yet, over 50,000 guys killed and 250,000 wounded, so I don't call that a police action.
And what branch of the service were you in?
Army, 11th Armored CAV, stallion horse.
Let me go back to your earlier life, before the U.S. Army. Where were you born?
Newark, New Jersey, St. Michael's Hospital down in Newark.
In Newark, New Jersey, right?
Right. And we
Okay.
lived in West Orange, New Jersey.
Yeah. What did your father do?
My father was a carpenter, Finnish carpenter. And he did, remember those old acoustical ceilings? The ones that used to be, slide in, all the acoustical ceilings, he used to do that. And not those were the ones they fitted.
Oh, I see.
They were all interlocked, not like these are drop-ins.
Right, right.
These were the old acoustical,
Yeah.
all the designs on them with everything else.
Again, you're from Orange, New Jersey, or?
Well, I lived in Orange too when we came back from Florida. We lived in Florida for most of my young life, and I was in Pompano Beach.
Where did you go to grammar school?
I went to grammar school. I was in Jersey. I started out in Jersey. That was St. Rosa Lima. That was a Catholic school. And then we moved, my father sold a house up in West Orange, and then we all moved to Florida.
Is that where you went to high school then, was in Florida?
Yes, I went to Cardinal Gibbons High in Florida.
I see. When did you graduate from high school?
High school, well, no, then we came back to Jersey. I went to high school down in Florida for 2 years. And my last 2 years, we came back to Jersey again. My father was, his family wanted him back to Jersey,
And was that West Orange, New Jersey then?
No, we went to Orange then.
Orange, New Jersey.
Right down the road, about a mile down the road from West Orange, New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
We lived on Park Avenue. One of those old estate homes, we rented one of those. My father rented one of those.
I see. What high school did you graduate from then?
Orange High.
Okay.
And I won a scholarship there to Passaic Drafting School my last year.
What was it? And you went to drafting school? What was the name of the school?
Passaic Drafting School.
I see. Okay. Did you receive a certificate then?
Oh yeah, certificate. Yeah, and then you know, I asked the teachers, you know, how much will I be making on it, you know? And they says, well, you can start out with probably $50 a week, make like $100 a quarter if you really get going. Now, don't forget, this is in '66, you know.
Mm-hmm. Is that when you graduated from high school? Was '66?
No, '65 I graduated in high school.
Okay.
But then I went to Passaic in '66. And I said, you know, I'm laboring right now when I don't go to school, and I'm making $175 digging ditches. I mean, you know, as a laborer, you can make more money laboring than you can do as a professional. So I gave up Passaic Drafting. I went to, you know, digging ditches as a laborer for the, well, they had different locals years ago, Italian locals, the Irish locals. I was in the Italian local.
I'm sorry, what was the name of the local?
It was a local, I forgot the name of the local. It was the Italian local, though. It was,
Italian
there's
local.
a number of it. But then when, and then I got drafted, you know, when I was in school, I got drafted with a bunch of my buddies. I think 5 or 6 of us got drafted at the same time.
Was that when you were still at the drafting
Orange.
school?
Yeah, I was still in Orange.
In high school or in drafting school?
In drafting school.
Oh, okay. When was that then? Do you remember the month?
66, 1966.
Okay. Remember what month at all?
Not really. Maybe around March, I think.
Okay. So were you able to complete the drafting school, or?
Yeah, I was done with the drafting school there.
Mm.
And I told them I'm done. They wanted me extra courses. I says, no, I make more money digging ditches, so I got out.
Mm.
I got out of that.
So you entered the Army then right after?
Well, when I got drafted, I went, yeah.
Drafting school then.
Right.
Yeah.
I joined the Army. I was still laboring at that time. I was working for an Alberta Fueling Company, one of the biggest plumbing mechanical union guys probably there. He took me under his wing, and I was putting like pipes together. I was a laborer, but he kept me working all year long because I was a hard worker. One thing my father taught us, my brother and I, is how to work. Excuse me, how to work.
How many, let me ask you, before we go too far, how many
Yeah.
siblings did you have? How many brothers and sisters?
Well, I got 3 sisters and my brother.
Okay. And one brother?
Yes, one brother.
Yeah. What was your brother's name?
Well, it's Dr. Sal Spallone. He's a doctor, dentist down in Vero Beach, Florida.
I see. Okay. And what were your sisters' names?
Kathy, that's my oldest sister, and she was a course stenographer. And then I had Mary Jane and Lynn. They used to work for my brother as dental hygienists, and then they end up working for his associate, you know, that my brother brought in.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brother moved to Vero Beach, where he has his practice now that he just retired, that his daughter's running right now, Dr. T, Tiffany.
I see.
Say again?
Again, you were in the drafting school when you
Right.
were learning how to draw.
Right, and then
When you were
when I
drafted by
went into the
US Army.
service, my MOS was 52B20. I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia for engineering, combat engineering.
Is that where you had basic training also? Was Fort
No,
Belvoir?
I went to Fort Dix, New Jersey for basic training.
Okay. How long were you there at Fort Dix?
I think 6, 7 months, because I got hurt in basic. I cut my foot, and they had to do skin grafts, everything else. So I had to go through basic all over again a second time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, you know, I was a platoon guide in basic training, and then they gave me private first class when I left. Instead of private E2, I got my first stripe
I
out of
see.
basic.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia for my MOS, you know, I was platoon guide there too.
Okay.
And I had the guys, you know, we got a leave every weekend because I had the guys working their asses off down there, painting the barracks, fixing everything. When they walked in there, it was like home. You know what I mean? And I says, if you guys really work hard here, we could get leave, you know, every weekend. And we got leave every weekend the whole time I was a platoon guy there. Because we fixed up the place, made it look nice.
But now, was this an advanced individual training? Is that where you were?
Yes, that's MOS or MOS.
MOS training?
52B20 engineers.
Engineer, okay. And where was that? What fort again was that?
Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Belvoir, okay. Okay. How long were you there at Fort Belvoir?
I think almost a year, I think.
1 year?
Yeah, almost a year.
Okay. Okay, backing up to Fort Dix and Tony, in basic training, do you remember any of your drill instructors?
Yeah, Sergeant Minnick, real nice guy.
Benning was his first name? Or last name?
Sergeant Minnick.
Minnick, okay.
That was his last name, Sergeant Minnick.
Okay.
Real nice guy, tough man.
Tough but nice, huh?
And I was like 2 months, you know, I had to stay in the company commander's, you know, place where Sergeant Minnick was and our captain was and our lieutenant was. And I was fixing, at that time, they were the M16, not M16s, the what do you call, what was our
The M14, the long.
The M14s, the big,
heavier one.
I was taking them apart, fixing them. I became an expert on those because I was there like 3 months waiting for the next basic to start. You know, they had to wait for the other basic and I had to start all over again on basic training. So.
Okay. So, but Sergeant Minnick was tough, but...
It was tough, but a real gentleman, a real nice guy.
Okay.
Took care of me the whole time.
Yeah.
You know?
How many did you have in your basic platoon? Do you remember? How many other trainees?
Let me see. In ours, we had, let's see, 5 lines, 10, about 50 guys,
50?
45, 50 guys.
Okay. Okay. Did you make any friends, any lasting relationships with any?
Oh yeah,
any other
Eddie
soldiers?
Wroblewski, but you know, that was it. Once we left basic, you know, we all the whole, we went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Ed Wroblewski and I, but then that's the last I heard of him after he was in Vietnam.
Oh,
I never
see.
got together with anybody, really.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then at Fort Belvoir, that's just south of Washington, D.C., right?
Right. I used to sometimes go home for the weekend, you know, because I had my car down there in Fort
I see.
Belvoir.
Yeah.
I had a 1966 GTO Tri-Power, beautiful car.
The Pontiac, right?
Yep, the Pontiac with the Tri-Power, 3 deuces, 411 rear, beautiful car. Red, white, and blue, believe it or not.
Oh,
It was
my.
red, white, and blue. It had red line tires, a white interior, blue outside, white vinyl top.
I see. What did it feel like in basic training? You know, what were some of your feelings, I guess, there as far as the type of training? Was it repetitive or tough or?
Yeah, it was, you know, when you worked hard all your life, it was really a breeze. And then when we went for, you know, shooting, you know, I got a, let's see, not expert, what's the one down from expert?
Like sharpshooter?
Sharpshooter, I got sharpshooter. I wasn't an expert, I missed it by like an inch or 2 inches or whatever. But you got better in Vietnam, I'll tell you.
Had you done hunting and shooting?
I never used a
before,
gun
or?
ever again since Vietnam. I did enough over there.
I'll bet. But
And
before,
thank God I never had a gun in the United States. I probably would have used it.
before you went into the military, though, were you hunting or anything like that as a target practice?
No,
as a youngster or anything
never
like
used
that?
a gun in my life.
So really, the Army was your only experience.
That was
then
the
with,
first
with the gun.
experience.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, after you completed your training then at Fort Belvoir, Tony, where did you go then?
We got our orders to go to Vietnam.
Okay.
So they gave us, I think, 10 days or maybe 2 weeks. I forgot. We had leave, though, before we left. I was married at the time.
I see.
My wife was pregnant, Martha, she was pregnant, and they had, all your underwear and all your undershirts, they had a tint green, dark green, and they wanted nothing white over there.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed with my mother-in-law and father-in-law while I was going, getting ready to go over.
How did you get to Vietnam? Did you go individually, or did you go with your unit, or what?
Yes, we went with our unit, but yet we were all separated when we got to the 90th replacement. When you fly in, you go to this place, the 90th replacement, and the slots are open. And so I went to, first of all, I went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, with the 11th with the 18th Helicopter Assault Group. I went there for 2 months, and I says, I'm not a helicopter gunner. And I kept on, I'm a 52 B-20 combat engineer. I know nothing about helicopters. And then I put a 1049 in. There was a slot open at the 11th Armored CAV. And they shipped me to the 11th Armored CAV. Headquarters. I think I was in either L or M troop. There's different troops and headquarters. I forgot which number it was, L or M, headquarters troop. And I was a scrounger. I went to go get, when people needed something, I'd run the convoys back and forth every other day to Saigon and Benoit to pick up supplies for them. And but before I did that, we were engineers. We built Highway 1, so I knew where, all the roads were going in and out.
Did you use heavy equipment and things like that?
Yeah, we had all the heavy equipment. We had the howitzers, we had the bulldozers, we had the graders, we had the front end loaders, we had ACAVs, 113s, we had the howitzers, we had all the big equipment. All the tanks. We were all strictly all tank, M48 tanks. We had everything there.
Where were you based? What was the name of the base?
Locke Ninh. It was about, I would say, well, by convoy now, our convoys went like 5 miles an hour or whatever. They're really slow. I would say an hour and a half, maybe 2 hour trip from Locke Ninh to Long Bend is our staging area. Long Bend. It was right outside Saigon, about 25 minutes outside Saigon. It was right by the ammunition dump. We were stationed right there. Matter of fact, when the VCs blew that ammunition dump up, I came off my bunk about 3 feet. I mean,
you were that close?
Oh yeah, that's how close we were.
So you went into, did you go into Saigon or into Long Ninh several times a week then, or?
Yes, about every other day, every third day, depending on how our supplies were, and then I would run from Long Bend by myself with a deuce and a half with an M60 on a tripod. I used to run at it myself without the convoy to pick up supplies to Benoit. That's where all our supplies were. So I used to pick those up. I picked up the laundry for the guys, sundry packages, all the automotive parts, all the stuff they needed. If they needed guns, if they needed 45s, I knew all the guys and supply. I got to know all the guys at supply. If they needed more weapons, I could pick that up. Ammunition, I picked up for them. What do you call them? The M79 grenade launchers, and plus the, the shotgun shells for those, and the grenades, all that stuff I picked up. They just gave me a list, and then I had to always pick up a case of what do you call, of Chevets for our colonel. I mean, that was a must.
Benoit was a supply center then, is that right?
Excuse me?
Benoit was a supply center then?
Oh, yeah, it was a supply, a lot of supplies there. Was right outside the Air Force base there. There was a big supply. And they were like out in the boonies. They were really out in the boonies, away from the, the Air Force there. So you were running those roads alone out there. And then they actually gave me what do you call a new kid just to drive for me, so I could just stay on the gun, because I this is a little leery here. A lot of times when I came back, my deuce and a half, you could see actually gunshots in there. Never heard. I heard them, but So I says we should have a guy, so he could drive, and I could at least secure the.
So you were just
vehicle.
one truck. You weren't part of a convoy or anything.
No, it was no convoy. I used to run it myself. I knew where to go with all the supplies. And in the Air Force, I got to know a lot of the Air Force guys. They let me sleep there overnight, if there's any problems in Benoit. And that's, and then I used to pick up the 55-gallon drums, of empty 55-gallon drums, because we used to use those at base camp for the shitters. In other words, we used to cut them in half and put them in the shitters, and we used to burn that. We had guys burning that stuff. A lot of times it was the Vietnamese, the workers there. They used to do all that stuff for us.
Okay.
On the 55-gallon drums, when I brought them back, nobody knew how to burn them in half. They didn't have, oxygen and acetylene. I did that all with Alberta Fueling, my plumber, as a laborer. He showed me how to run all the equipment, Mr. Rule. A nice guy. And I used to cut them in half, and not knowing that's where the Agent Orange was, and those 55-gallon drums. So all those fumes were sucking into me. So.
Was that what it had originally been in the?
Yes, and I used to walk through that stuff. That's where they were stationed. All that stuff was stationed in Benoit. There was hundreds of 55-gallon drums. I used to fill them up in the aircrafts there and then spray it. Matter of fact, on us, because I was in Operation Junction City, Operation Manhattan, on both of those operations. That's where they sprayed. That's where I really got it bad. They used to spray that shit right on top of us when we were trying to take the mountain. A Black Mountain, they called it Black Mountain. We had to take the mountain. And we finally took it. It took us 6 months to get the mountain. And then we stayed up there for about 2 months. We secured the mountain. As we're coming down off the mountain, there was another 3,000 VCs up there. I mean, they had tunnels. It was like we cleared it.
Where was it? Where was that area then?
I don't even know where. It was Operation Junction City and Operation Manhattan, both of them. They sprayed us.
You said it was a mountainous area then?
It was a mountainous there. We burned that whole, we call it Black Mountain because with the flamethrowers, we burned that whole mountain. There was nothing left of the mountain. There was nothing left. No vegetation, no nothing. And then they sprayed the Agent Orange on there because they figured that it would get into the tunnels, But it didn't get into the tunnels. It got all over the Americans.
Got all the personnel.
All the guys walking up to that mountain.
And again, your job as an engineer then was to handle all this kind of.
Yeah, it was. Well, you change your MOS wherever there's a slot. I mean, I was running loaders. I was running, planers. I was running ACAVs, 113s. I was running everything. As long as it had laterals like this, I could run it. Because in construction, I ran all that stuff.
So really, it's whatever was open, wherever they needed help.
Right, wherever they needed help. As a combat engineer, you were everything.
Yeah. Did you actually see combat at all, or were you?
Well, every time we had an operation, we were in combat, taking a mountain. Yeah, that's where I got my CIB, Combat Infantry Badge, and I think it was in Operation Junction City or We always had shootings. Nothing. Like hundreds of guys. It was like maybe 10, 12 guys, VCs. That's it.
So there were casualties in your
we had.
right?
I used to go out on ambush patrols for 3 days, and I report back to base camp. This is.
So you had some casualties in your unit.
Oh yeah, there's.
Were you wounded also then, Tony?
Yeah, a little bit of a shrapnel I had over my eye. I had it in my leg. Shrapnel in my leg.
Was that
Nothing serious though, you know.
you encountered that on some of the operations?
Yeah, they
Was
says, you
that-
know, you deserve a Purple Heart. I says, no, that guy that lost his leg deserves a Purple Heart. I says, I'm all right. And then when I was in Saigon getting, you know, sewed up and everything else, they asked you to, you know, I says, how long is this going to take? Well, once you get better. And they had you, you know, cleaning bedpans. I says, no, I'll go back to my unit. Just put a Band-Aid over it, I'll go back to my unit. I don't do that shit. So they sent me right back to the unit. I think they did that on purpose to get you out of there.
That moved you along, right?
They move you along real quick.
Yeah. Were you ever a prisoner of war?
No.
Okay. Did you receive any individual medals or citations?
Combat infantry badge. What else? Well, the Vietnam Service Medal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about
What do
it.
you think for heroism, like Bronze Star or Silver Star or anything like that?
No, I didn't want any of that stuff.
Okay.
It was offered, and I says, no, the guys with the legs, you know, they want to give it to me with the shrapnel. I says, no, that's all right. I don't need, I'm all right. I could go to work. I'm fine.
What sort of living conditions did you have back at your home base?
Well,
Did you have strong backs or?
we had tents. We had, you know, the big tents. And then we, you know, we dug in. We had our own, you know, we had to dig everything in with sandbags. And then we were just starting when I was leaving the last 3 months. They delivered, you know, lumber. And they poured what I call a monolithic pour. It's a one pour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a foundation, but they poured the whole thing for, you know, and they built the Quonset huts. They were starting to build them, permanent structurals there.
Mm-hmm.
And I made out of wood. I said, just by luck, they start building the good stuff when I'm leaving here, right?
Did you get involved in the construction of
Yes,
the
I
Quonset huts and
did. I
things?
showed the guys, you know, because I was in construction, you know, in labor, and you know, my godfather is Puggy Spallone, Nick Spallone. He was a bricklayer's delegate. I was around building all my life. My father's, you know, my father's brother, everybody was builders or, you know, plumbers or whatever. So I gave him a hand, you know. It's another MOS now. So then I was a builder. But it was half-assed, but it was built good. It was like a pole barn that you have here in Michigan.
Sure.
You know, pole barns, you know.
Yeah.
So it
Metal barns.
lasted. We left everything there anyway for the Viet Cong when we left.
How did you stay in touch with your family when you were overseas?
Letters all the time. My mother sent a package. You know, this is what really pissed me off. You know, nobody was making any money. It used to cost her like $26, $27 to send one package. Yeah. She used to walk to the post office and send me a package every third day. I used to get a package. And all the guys would be waiting, you know, and I shared it. You know, she'd send me like licorice, you know, candy and the stuff that we couldn't get there, you know.
So you got a package 2 or 3 times a week then, right?
At least 2 or 3 times a week, my mother would send a package. Yep.
Yeah.
All the guys would be waiting, and I shared it with everybody. You know, that's what we did. Everybody watched each other's back over there.
What was the food like overseas?
It sucked. It really sucked. Sea rations, and then you had I was, you know, see, I didn't get too many hot meals because I was on the road all the time.
Oh, I see.
And I was running convoys, so maybe once a month I would be in base camp, you know, for a hot meal. I think I had, oh wait, no, when I had the hot meals, when Operation Junction City, Operation Manhattan, they had to come out with us. At the thing, they set up a kitchen out there. I got a hot meal 3 times a day because I didn't have to run convoys, only once a week, just to bring supplies out, you know, to there.
So it's because you were hauling the
I was hauling all that
you were
shit.
able to get into the shell line there. Then,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. How about supplies? Of course, now you were getting
Oh
your
yeah, I
supplies
could get anything I wanted.
for the,
Oh yeah.
for the unit then. But So you generally,
And the guys would, if they
Found what
never,
you needed.
no guy in headquarters troop, 11th Armored CAV wanted anything. They came into supply or whatever, and they came into, I says, give it to them. Whatever they want, you give everything to them. You know, none of this stuff, you only allow one or two. I says, whatever he needs, give it to him. I says, I could get it the next day.
did you feel pressure and stress when you were over there?
You know, when you're young, you're stupid, you're brave. You know, you don't realize where you're at until the shooting starts. Then you realize where you're at until you see see one of your buddies get hurt or something.
I think you're saying no until
Yeah.
you know the shooting started and you know people were getting hurt. Okay. Did you do anything special for good luck?
Yeah, I had a St. Anthony's medal
Okay.
my mother gave me. I lost that when I came home. I went swimming one day and I lost the damn thing.
How about entertainment? Anything special you did for, you know, among yourselves and your troop?
Well, we had, what's his name? Jonathan Winters flew in. And then he flew in with Nancy Sinatra. You know, the boots were made. But they didn't realize, you know, and the VCs started sending mortars in. They flew them out. They didn't even get to see the show. You know, usually Saigon got all the action. That's where all the brass was. You had all the generals there. You had all the big brass. But they did come out. But then the mortars started coming in from the VCs, and then they flew them. The helicopters flew them right out. They didn't want to put them in there in a spot. But she got her song off. Nancy Sinatra got her sing off. It was their boots were made for walking, I think. Yeah, she got her song off. And Jonathan Winters, he made a joke out of the mortars, you know, but he jumped on that helicopter real quick.
But did you, among the other soldiers, did you have anything special you did for entertainment or card games?
Yeah, we played cards. We played liar's poker, a lot of liar's poker.
Okay.
Yeah, we played a lot of liar's poker. Because it was all funny money over there. It wasn't real money, you know?
So the MPC?
Yeah, it was,
yeah,
right. It was, then you had the dongs and you had the Vietnamese money that you couldn't spend at the, you know, at anything, so. Yeah, you had the currency, our currency, whatever. It's government currency.
How long were you overseas in Vietnam in total?
I think 12 months, 8 days, 4 hours and 22 minutes to be exact.
Well, I asked, right? You had the answer. Okay. Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events while you were there?
Pardon me?
Any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Humorous?
Humorous.
I try to make a lot of jokes, you know. I think when I'm under stress, I like to joke around a little bit, you know.
Well, that's
keep everybody,
stress then,
keep
right?
everybody, you know, on their toes and everything else, you know.
Okay. Did you take any photographs when you were over there then, Tony?
Oh yeah, I took, matter of fact, my son sent me 3 or 4 of them. I got them on my phone. I'll give them to you, you know, I'll put them on your phone. You can do whatever you want to do with them.
Okay. Were there any pranks or anything that you would pull on others, or that others would pull on you, or that other soldiers would pull on other soldiers? Any pranks or activity like that? You know,
well, they might have done it at base camp, but when we left base camp, everything was pretty serious out there. Okay. You know, there was, you know, in base camp you felt a lot safer because you had perimeter guards around you. You had the barbed wire. You know, you were pretty secure at base camp until they start walking in mortars. Then, you know, nobody's safe.
Did you have to do guard duty? Was that a rotating duty?
I only pulled guard duty, believe it or not, one time, because I was gone all the time. You know, I never pulled KP. I never pulled any of that stuff. I always had stuff to do. And the colonel took care of me over there. We had I forgot his name too, that's a sin. Real nice guy. You know, he says, just give me this stuff, give me that stuff. He ate steak. We got him steak. We knew what to get him. If he ate steak, I ate steak then. You understand?
Right.
We had some good cooks, two guys from New York that were chefs, and they could make a meal. Yeah, I did eat some good stuff. In base camp, that was. And then the hot meals were down in when we went on operations, because we brought I told you that already. We brought the kitchens with us. You know, we set up a tent for them, and they had 3 squares a day. I think we did a Christmas out in one of the. There was supposed to be a what do you call a stop shooting for.
Ceasefire?
Ceasefire for 3 days or whatever. That didn't last long.
What did you think of your fellow soldiers or your officers in your unit?
Well, you had a lot of warrant officers that didn't know their ass. You know, they said, you didn't salute me. I says, you know, let me explain something to you. If I salute you, the VCs would shoot you immediately, knowing that you're, oh, I didn't know. Well, you better learn right now. We didn't have to salute anybody.
But your fellow soldiers you worked with, though, did your fellow soldiers, do they measure up, you know, to your standards and you know, participate and did you expect it anyway?
Yeah, they were all good guys. Everyone, you know, I was the only one that really didn't get hurt bad, you know, considering. You know, they were all.
It sounds like you had good relations with your colonel anyway. But,
oh yeah.
How about the other lower grade officers in your unit?
Oh yeah, all of them, the lieutenants, yeah, because, you know, I was getting them stuff, let's put it that way. You know what I mean? It was a good rapport. One hand washed another, let's put it that way.
Okay.
That's why I never had to do KP, I never had to do any of that stuff. You know, guard, I says, I'm on guard 24 hours a day when I'm running a convoy. You want me on guard now? All right, don't get excited, Tony. I said, I'm not getting excited, I'm just telling you where I'm going. And he says, don't worry, we'll keep you off the list. I says, good. I do enough when I leave this base camp.
Yeah. When did you come back from Vietnam then? When did you return back to the States?
69, I think, 70? 60, I think 69, I think.
Remember what month at all?
Or 70? No.
69
oh,
or 70?
around March, around my birthday. I think it was around my birthday. I should have got you my W-214. It's
Okay.
on it. It's on it. They got a copy here.
Okay.
That way I could
Where did you go when you got back stateside?
Well, I went right, believe it or not, I came back, I took a taxi cab from Fort Dix, New Jersey, a base taxi. From there to Orange, New Jersey, it cost me $110. And this is I mean, they were making $25 a week then. The guy drove me right to my home, because I haven't been, you know, home. I came back on a Friday. Monday morning I went to work. Yeah, Monday morning I went to work.
You were discharged then when you got back?
Yes, I was discharged when I got
Fort
back.
Dix.
We had when we came off the plane, we had pickets and everything else at Fort Dix. The hippies were picking us. And
It was anti-war?
Anti-war, and I said, screw you, and we had to take all our clothes off and burn them. You know, anything that you know, from Vietnam, we didn't know what kind of stuff was on them or whatever, but we had to strip, throw them all in a thing, and they burned all our clothes and everything, all the stuff you know. And then the other stuff that we had in our duffel bags, they cleaned for us, and they put back in our duffel bags, you know, that we had, you know, to bring home our dress. You know, they had them clean, some kind of chemicals they put on them to make sure there's no diseases. So we went with our dress screens home.
How many days were you at Fort Dix before being discharged?
I think a week and a half.
Oh, I see.
About a week and a half.
Okay. Okay.
And I didn't tell anybody I was there, so I surprised everybody. I just took a taxi. I just showed up.
Took the taxi home, right?
All the way home with Eddie Wroblewski. With the last time I saw him, he was in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, my engineer too. He went to a different place. I went to the 11th Armored CAV. I think he went to the 1st CAV. He went, you know, the engineers.
What was his name again?
Eddie Wroblewski. Eddie Wroblewski. E-D-D-I Wroblewski, however you spell it. And we took it. We split the cab because he was from. He had to go to where the hell was he from? New York.
New York
He was
City?
from New York.
Oh, yeah.
So they drove me home first and then him home second.
Have you kept in touch with Eddie or anybody else?
No, nobody.
From,
That's a sin. I never kept in touch with anybody.
nobody else from the 11th Armored Cavalry or anything that you kept in touch with over the years? Or?
Nobody.
Okay. Okay. Tony, did you join any of the veterans organizations, like the American Legion or VFW?
Well, I was ready to join the American Legion in Coral Springs. I was the youngest homeowner in Coral Springs. I built the youngest homeowner in Coral Springs. My house was 29.9, 3,200 square feet, 29.9, on a lake. Unbelievable. And Anthony Pools knocked on my door one day. He says, "Would you like a pool?" I said, "No, I just bought the house." He says, "For $18 a month, I could put it on your mortgage." I says, "You're not digging yet?" So I had him put a pool in my backyard. But way before that, you know, and then I was in my own business down there. But when I came home, I went back to Alberta Fueling Company, the plumbers. And, you know, I was still a laborer, right? And he says, "You're not going to labor for me anymore." I figured I was fired. He says, "I'm going to put you into the union, the plumbers union, because you're great at plumbing." So he sponsored me, and Mal Malanga, my father's good friend, his son didn't want to get into the union as a plumber. So years ago, it was father and son. They could get in. That's how tight the unions were. So Mal Malanga's son Ronnie didn't want to get in. So Mal Malanga, he sponsored me to get into the union. So that's how I got into the union, in the plumbers union. Local 24, matter of fact.
Okay.
That one I know. Local 24. And he started me with not first year's money, he started me with 5th year's money. That's how good I was in plumbing. I knew more than the guys plumbing, because I could read schematics, you know, because of Passaic Drafting School. You know, I could read the blueprints. Half of the guys that were running the jobs couldn't even read the prints. I used to design those prints, you know, in Passaic Drafting School. So I could read the prints, and then I took X-ray welding too, as an extra, you know, because people that do the tanks at Budweiser and, you know, you have to put a pass around there, and they come in and they take an X-ray of it to see how it looks. And then you sit around, and then you got to take another X-ray, another pass, you do 5 passes, and you're done. And then time didn't go too good, so I'm back to plumbing.
Did you join any veterans organizations?
Well, I did when I went, after I left Orange, New Jersey, I went down to Florida.
When you were in Florida?
I left the union, and I started my own business, TNT Roofing, with my father. TNT was Tony and Tony.
Roofing. Yeah. And did you join like the VFW or?
Well, they had an American Legion there, and I went in there and they says, "This is a 71, yeah, 70 or 71." I went in there and they says, "No, that was a police act. You're not allowed to join." Well, I hit the newspaper down there. I almost knocked the shit out of half of the guys down there. I says, "Yeah." At that time, it was like 48,000 killed or 45,000, I forgot. I says, "That was a police action? All those people died over there." You know,
so
they were down with the war.
They weren't interested in signing up new members then, is that right?
Right, they weren't signing any members from Vietnam at that time.
Yeah.
I think 72 or 73, they passed it that you could join the American Legion or the VFW and the rest of them. I think it was 72 it was passed.
So you really got involved mainly in your business at TNT.
Oh yeah,
and,
it was. Oh yeah, I was the biggest in South Florida. When you open up the yellow pages, the inside back cover in color, nobody had that. I had that. It was TNT roofers.
Now, what did TNT stand for?
Tony and Tony, father and son.
Father and son.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And did you continue your business there then?
Oh yeah, I continued there, and then I was there for like. Then I what do you call? I got married twice down there. Not once. My first wife, that was Martha. That was the one when I came home with. Then when we moved from Orange down to Coral Springs, Florida. And then it lasted about 2 years down there, and then I met Gail, and we got married.
So what was your second wife's name?
Gail.
Gail, okay.
And I had one girl, Rachel, with Martha, my first wife, and she was born 6 months after I was in country in Vietnam. And then I married Gail 2 years after I was in Florida, and we had 2 sons. Then I adopted her son, Kurt, and he still keeps my name. He's a doctor now, Dr. Spallone, Kurt Spallone. He's in upstate Chicago, I think Niles, Illinois or something. Then I had Anthony and Nikki with her, Spallone.
And how long did you stay in Florida then?
I stayed another 8 years, maybe 7, 8 years.
And then you returned to New Jersey.
Then I went back to Jersey again.
Okay.
Farmingdale, New Jersey.
Okay.
Well, first I went to Berlin, and I met Mary Margaret Myers, and she was head of ABC Radio News in New York. She did the royal wedding, John's Lennon death, all the big stuff. She was the top number woman for ABC Radio News. And I had I adopted her daughter, and then I had a daughter, Rachel, with her, and I had another son that I named Anthony again. I was going to do a George Foreman, I think. I had another son, Anthony. One was Anthony Salvatore, and the other one was Anthony Michael.
Anthony Michael. Okay.
I knew everybody in the business, and she introduced me to Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump roasted her down Valley, because she's the first woman in the business, in the radio business, as a head correspondent. She not only told the news on the air, but she wrote it too. She actually wrote her own. Nobody does that, And I did a lot of work for Donald Trump, and I got paid too. I got paid.
That's important.
I got paid. He took care of all his main people. He really did.
Well, obviously you liked your work.
Oh yeah. Or else he would have said you're fired, right?
Now, did you attend any reunions, or have you attended any reunions, military reunions?
Nothing. I never heard of them. Well,
never heard of from them at all.
Never heard of any reunions.
Yeah.
Well, I was low key the last 18 years. Nobody could find me. Even my family couldn't find me. My kids couldn't. And then all of a sudden they saw me on TV. I was fighting for the. I came in here in a Grand Rapids Veterans Home in a wheelchair, 24-hour oxygen. And who helped me out was the caregivers, and they were the state people. And this guy, Dan the Man, and another guy really took care of me. I mean, they says, what are you doing in a wheelchair? I thought you were a builder. You got me so pissed off. I got out of that bed and I pinned him against the wall. He says, oh, you can get up, can't you? And he worked with me for almost a year, you know. And he got me back out of the wheelchair into a walker. And from a walker, another year later, I'm walking around and I'm feeling good. I mean, they got me on the right medication. He had some good doctors in here.
When did you come here to the Veterans
6 years ago, 6.5 years ago.
Okay.
Around March, around my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I think 6.5 years ago.
So 2011 then?
Pardon me?
You think about 2011?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What was your connection to Michigan then, Tony?
Well, one of my buddies, he was in Michigan. I used to keep in touch with him. He was another builder. And he says, you know, come up to Michigan if you ever... So I went through my last divorce with Mary Morgan, and I came to Michigan. And he was in the adult theater business, let's put it that way. He owned 32 of them, and I says, get rid of you know, over half of them. I got rid of over half of them. I built 5 big ones, and I says, too much stealing going on. So I was doing all the, I was my own boss. I could do whatever I want to do. We opened up a log, what do you call, storage lockers business. Mm-hmm. He was in a boat. He loves boats. He was a multi-millionaire. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, he's the one that saved my life, bringing me in here. I fell in the concrete. We're building a last strip joint up in Battle Creek, across from Post Cereal. And I fell into the concrete. He thought I was kidding around like I usually do. Hmm. And he says, what's wrong? I says, I can't breathe. And he brought me to Spectrum. I was in Spectrum for Christ 9 months to almost a year in a private room. I couldn't find out. Hmm. And a guy walked in and he says, a doctor walked in and he asked me what operations I was on in Vietnam. I says, Operation Junction City, Operation Manhattan. He says, you got Agent Orange. Just like that. Hmm. Without even medically checking me. They didn't know what I had. I had blood clots in my whole body. They were packed. And that's how I ended up here.
So after Battle Creek, you came here to the Veterans Home? And
from Spectrum, I went to
okay.
physical therapy for 2 months until they had an opening here. And then they says, you'd be better off at the vets home, because I was going through all my money. You know, they says, you know, you're 100%, you know, and they'll take care of everything there. I said, really? Yeah. When I first came here, I was paying $5,071 a month to stay in a room. Hmm. It's an expensive deal here. Until I brought in a few people, and Herb brought in his lawyers and everything else. He says, hey, he's 100% disabled. You're supposed to be paying for everything. And all of a sudden, they woke up here real quick.
Let me ask you, kind of in conclusion here then, Tony, how did your service experience affect your life? Experience-wise, anything particular that, of course, you went into the Army already.
Well, you know, I worked most of my life. The whole thing was just, you know, working. Hmm. But then when I got here and I saw all these guys, you know, and I says, you know, something has to be done with these guys. You know, half of them couldn't speak and speak up for themselves and everything else. And I was watching, and these guys that almost saved my life in here. They were getting all, you know, fired. They were getting fired. So I went to court.
These are the employees and
these are the state employees. I went to court, what was it, 3-4 years ago. Matter of fact, the president of their union woke me up. They says, I know you dealt with, because I built a yacht and beach club for Disney World. I was with Gwen Dean down there. I was running that place for 3-4 years down there. I was with DDC, Disney Development Corporation. Hmm. And then they said, they must have, you know, heard what I was talking about Disney World, and I said, yeah, I ran 4,200 guys. They were all union, but nothing like New York or Jersey. They're all scabs down there. They're all making $12, $13 an hour, where we're making $78 to $42 an hour up north, you know. Hmm. So I says, yeah, I know how. He says, well, you want to go to court and fight for these guys? So I says, yeah, I'll do that. Well, at 8 o'clock in the morning, everybody was laid off. After I got done with court at 12:30, it made a president. In other words, this never happened in the United States of America. 4,000 guys, I mean, whatever it was, not 4,000. All the state workers were, they got their, what do you call, laid off.
Layoff notice.
Laid off 8 o'clock in the morning. They all got laid off. And at 12:30 in the afternoon, after I was done with the judge, everybody went back to work. We were making phone calls, and they couldn't believe they were all going back. Because I had a party for them down American Legion. I paid for a party for them down American Legion, every one of the caregivers that were in here, because they took care of me. You know what I mean? And they deserved it.
Well, it kind of shows your work experience, and you brought that into even your retirement home here then.
Right.
As far as some of your skills there.
And not only that, you don't leave a guy behind. You know?
Sure.
You know, a lot of these guys can't speak up for themselves. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tony, I certainly thank you for your recollections, of your service for your country, and even your earlier experience and experience here at the Home for Veterans. This interview is part of the Veterans History Project, which is at the American Folklife Center at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. And also, it's being put together by the History Department at Grand Valley State University at Allendale, Michigan.
I'd like to say one more thing, though. Everybody has a hero like Superman or your father, or, but my hero is my brother. No matter what happened in my life, divorces, this and that, whatever happened in my life, my brother was always there for me, no matter what.
So if you were down, he was there.
He was there.
Yeah. And I assume you celebrate with him too, and on the
That's my hero.
He's your hero. Good. What's your brother's first name?
Salvatore.
Salvador. Well, we'll leave on that note then, for Salvador Spallone. Well, again, Tony, I certainly thank you for participating in the Veterans History Project. My name is Wallace Erickson, interviewer with the History Department at Grand Valley State University.
And he's very good at it.